Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
When I decide to stop this program, it will not be for the reason of being afraid of the left. They are evil, but also they are easily led, and hopefully right over a cliff. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith. God bless America. And we need a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. Good morning. And a good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And along with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Along with our friends also at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Let's go to the phone line and start things off right with the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doug, old buddy. Call back in a little bit if you would, please. I'll look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you. Time for the weather, and we're seeing some cloudy conditions out there this morning, and it's warm, 71 degrees right now, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. You know, you're sitting there going, holy moly, I got, here it is midsummer, and I've got all these construction projects and things to take care of. What about the equipment? What about the tools? Man, oh man, you better get a hold of Roger and the right crew to serve you at K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. And, you know, just call and discuss with them what you got to do. Tell them what the job is, what the task is, and they'll make sure that you get the right equipment for the job. All you have to do is call them at 678-3122, K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Red flag warning for today, and if you don't have an air conditioner, you might want to think about it. Here's a look at your weather forecast for today. Partly sunny skies. Red flag warning is going to be in effect. Slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms off and on. With the clouds, it's going to be retaining the heat. We're expecting a high of 85. Tonight, mostly clear. With a low of 58 tomorrow, sunny skies. High of 91 with an overnight low of 58. Going to get warm for Thursday. Sunny skies, high of 97. For Friday, 101. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I think on Friday, my day off, I am going to go get one of those little kiddie pools. I'm serious. And I'm going to put it in the backyard and fill it up and dump in it. That's what I'm going to do is just jump right in that thing. Oh, the weather brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. And they do have all the tools and equipment you need for both long and short-term rental. Call them. Talk to Roger, 678-3122. K&R Rental. Want to also acknowledge and thank our dear friends Kevin and Cindy and the rest of the folks over at Darrell's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And they've been taking care of our clothes for a long, long time. I mean, over 20 years, and they are the best at what they do. And, of course, dry cleaning extends the life of your clothes. I mean, you pay a lot of money for your shirts and your Wranglers and everything else. Take care of them. Take them into Darrow's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They are, and it's true, the best. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. We've just had a breaking story come across, and we heard just a little portion of it on the CBS News, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Yep, for all your heating, keyword here, cooling and electrical needs. They've got it all for you at Ramsey's. I'm telling you, it's going to get warm this week. Stay warm next week, and if you don't have an air conditioner, get it. If you do have one, get new air filters. Be ready to have it work efficiently. Stop in to Ramsey Heating and Electric. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. If that's me, I have the menu for the Burley Senior Center. It's going to be chicken Alfredo, and Chris promises it'll be yummy.
Okay. Chicken Alfredo today over at the Senior Center. And if people want to call over and get a meal, can they still get one and take it home?
Yes. Just call and they'll have a meals to go for you.
All right. And what is it, Joe? Just $5, right?
Pardon?
I say it's just $5.
That's just $5.
All right. Joe Taylor over at... All right, sir. Thank you, sir. God bless you, Joe Taylor at the Senior Center on Overland in Burley. Just $5 for a delicious, delicious meal. You can call. They'll have it ready for you. Jerry Nadler was in a car accident this morning, just moments ago in Washington, D.C. No injuries. But I'm saying this a little tongue-in-cheek right now, and I think many of you would probably feel the same way. The hearing with Attorney General Barr, they say, will be delayed. Now, whether that means they're going to start this afternoon, whether it means they may start tomorrow morning or whenever, but I've got to look at this story and say a little bit of a and a question mark on my face, because Bill Barr is going to absolutely lower the boom on the Democrats as far as information that's been found about all the allegations of the Democratic left against Trump and his campaign, and the illegalities going on with the FBI, etc. And I'm wondering, if maybe this isn't kind of a, this might be one way to delay the hearing and Bill Barr. Of course, I'm a little skeptical. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. I want to remind everybody about Dino's Septic Service. And when it comes to septic tank pumping and septic tank and drain fields installed and the sewer and sink drain lines cleaned and the liquid waste removal and the septic inspections and the list goes on, these folks at Dino's Septic Service are the best. Absolutely the best. Fast, fair, friendly service, and the number to call, 436-6526 or 678-1638. Believe me, they're good and they care. Dino's Septic Service with the big truck that says smells cargo on the way to serve you. You give them a call today. Minidoka County Fair is off and running. And I just absolutely urge you to get over there and enjoy all the fun. Let's see what's on the menu for tonight, Tuesday. And we're looking at the PMT concert. And it's free to the public, and it's going to be really, really good at the racetrack grandstands. Don't forget the PMT concert. And then also the Tiny Tot Gymkhana is coming up, along with all the exhibits, all the great food, all the fun at your Minidoka County Fair. Don't forget, All-American Flair at the Minidoka County Fair. You get over there and be with some nice, nice people at the Minidoka County Fair. Caller, good morning. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. I am pretty nervous.
Well, don't be nervous. I'm not going to do anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm shaking like a leaf, actually. I am calling about the Idahoans for the recall of Brad Little.
Uh-huh.
And you can do your own homework by calling recallgovlittle.org.
Okay.
And, I lost my place. Sorry. I have to write things down or my mind goes blank. I was listening yesterday when you were talking about religious freedom and what happened in the Supreme Court. And I understand that a lot of people do not like to get the bad news about what goes on in Congress. A number of years ago, and shortly after I had written my congressman, I heard a Washington commentator say that only right-wing wackos write to their congressmen, and they do not represent the majority. And since then, I've endeavored to mostly stay out of what goes on there. But now I have to draw a line and say no more. Yesterday, Justice Kavanaugh said that Nevada's 50% attendance cap on religious worship services puts praying at church, synagogues, temples, mosques on a worse footing than eating in restaurants, drinking in beers, gambling in casinos, or biking at a gym. In other words, he said Nevada is discriminating against religion.
Right. So
most people do not want to get into politics because they feel helpless. Well, this grassroots campaign that's going on to recall Brad Little is something that people can do. This is something we can do.
Okay, but let me ask you a couple of questions.
And feel like our voice means something.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions. What has the governor done or indicated that he will do that will implement and possibly be rewarded with a recall? What evil has he really, really done?
Well, there's quite a list.
No, give me a couple of examples.
Restricted our religious freedoms, calling them non-essential and forbidding us to peacefully assemble.
Okay.
All the while, the Planned Parenthood of Boise and liquor stores stayed open. You could go into Home Depot or Walmart, but you couldn't go to church.
No, I'm not arbitrating with you at all. Just a minute, please. Please, we've got to have a two-way.
When we petitioned him about our grievances, he just turned a deaf ear. And not only to us, but our representative, Kelly Anthem, wrote him a letter in April and got all the Senate Republicans to sign it, telling him that he needed to terminate the stay-at-home order, and he turned a deaf ear to them.
Okay. Now, I'm going to jump in here. Hold on. Let me have a chance. What I'm going to do. Now, the governor is scheduled to come on my program next week. I am going to ask you to call in while he's on the air, and I want you to tell him your grievances and your feelings, okay?
Sure.
All right.
What's that going to be?
I'm not sure the date. I've got to verify it, as a matter of fact, this afternoon. And I will say on the air tomorrow when he will be on the program for sure next week. Is that all right with you?
Sure.
All right. I appreciate your call, and that'll give you a chance to talk directly to him.
First.
Beg your pardon?
I will be at the Minnedosa County Fair every evening this week from 5 to 8 with petitions for people to call.
Okay.
And I would like to challenge everybody who can hear my voice to stand up and to take a stand and sign my petition. I'll be there from 5 to 8 every evening this week.
All right. I appreciate your call. I appreciate your utilization of the great American spirit and the rights that we have as citizens. Thank you for your call this morning. I appreciate it. I'll have it on the air tomorrow when the governor will be on. I promise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I've heard about this grassroots effort And I'm not going to give you my opinion until I get the program and the governor on the air, to be honest with you. I am not going to say something that I would have to repeat and or change when he's on my program. I'm going to say it to him directly so he can respond. And that's why I told the lady I'll find out for sure what day next week he will be on the show, and then she can call in and air her complaints with the governor. That's the best way to do it. Eliminate the middleman. Stand up for yourself and what you believe in. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Magic Valley Carpet, 613 D Street in Rupert says, come on to the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. I mean, carpet, hardwood, vinyl, laminates, tile, all of this. Installation is guaranteed. These folks have been in business for a long time. 36 years of experience in serving you. Magic Valley Carpet, 613 D Street in Rupert. Don't forget that. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say one more good word, and then I want to get into one major sports figure in the NFL has come out and said how he feels about kneeling for the flag. And I want to talk about that in just a moment, so stand by. I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Now you know the location, and they've got another one, by the way, in Twin Falls at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Delicious food, that goes without saying. All the great menu choices for breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, and the desserts. I mean, it's phenomenal. And, of course, great people serving you. It's America's Diner. Yes, it is. Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we're really tickled to be there at 611 North Overland in Burley. One NFL player, and I read this story just prior to going on the air this morning, and it kind of dovetails into a story that we had yesterday about Mike Ditka. One NFL player has the guts, and let's just call this like it is, and said, and I'm going to paraphrase the gist of the conversation, it was lengthy. He said, I'm not kneeling during the national anthem. I'm not going to kneel. Pittsburgh Steelers' Stephon Tuitt came out and said, if anybody has a problem with that, they'd better come to me. He said, I come from an immigrant family, and we, the family, love this country and the opportunities that it's been afforded to them. And I just think that this took a lot of nerve. In a situation where sports is always catering to the left, look at the NBA with China, look at the NFL and the rest of them with Black Lives Matter, etc. I really respect this Pittsburgh Steelers defensive end Stephon Tuitt saying, no, I'm not going to kneel. I'm going to stand proudly for the flag of the United States. And remember yesterday when we had the story on about NFL superstar and legend Mike Ditka, when he said, and I'm quoting from Mike, you know Iron Mike, he says what he thinks. He said that people who don't respect the national anthem should get the hell out of America, and I said that it won't be long, and the left will go after him and try to get him canceled from his commercials and everything else. Yep, they're doing it. Right now, they're after him and making a major push to purge Mike Ditka. In the land of America where we're supposed to have the First Amendment of free speech and free thought, the left is going after him like a cat to a plate of milk. Watch. He will be removed very shortly from any and all of the pitchman duties he's had for various products. It's just hanging on the wall. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Apparently, in the left's interpretation of our First Amendment, it's only free speech if they agree with it. If they don't agree with it, then it's hate speech, and hate speech is banned.
Well, Doug, didn't you get the memo?
I did, but I laughed.
No, I'm trying to be a little bit facetious over a very serious situation, because that's exactly the synopsis that you've just given as to what's going on with speech in this country. If it doesn't coincide with a lockstep in their direction and what they say is okay, they're going to come after you. They're going to ruin you. They're going to ruin your business. They're going to ruin your family. They're going to ruin you personally. All of this in a country that supposedly abides by the Constitution and the amendments? This is despicable.
It is despicable. And what else is despicable is our mainstream media is pouring gasoline on this and fanning the flame, where they have received Pulitzer Prizes on award-winning articles about Russian collusion, and now we're finding out it wasn't even a Russian that put the deal together.
It was a person with the Brookings Institute back on the East Coast.
And, yes, it worked for the DNC.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, actually had been in contact and working with and in harmony with, bingo, Hillary Clinton.
Exactly. That's exactly the truth. But yet they hand each other those Pulitzer Prizes because they had award-winning articles and journalism on it when it was all baloney.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to go along and swallow that pill?
Okay, let me throw this at you. And I'm not trying to get this on your shoulders. I'll take it on mine. I have come out against the Black Lives Matter on this program. There are chapters of Black Lives Matter around the state of Idaho. As a matter of fact, there is one that I'm checking on that's being started up and perpetrated right here locally at the College of Southern Idaho. I would say to you, I would submit to you that none of the people that are involved in the Black Lives Matter perpetration in this area really have the brain cells to understand what they're really promoting. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree. They're lazy. They read the headlines. They do not read the complete articles. So the headlines is misinformative. So that's what they go with, because they're on their smartphones. Their smartphones tells them everything, and all they got to do is read the headline, and I'm informed.
Do you really think, Doug, honestly, that the people that marched and they showed pictures on the Times News, they understand that it is a fascist and very organized Marxist/communist group, and that they are bent on the destruction of our Constitution and our way of life? And those words are not from me. Those are words actually from some of the people with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, it comes right off their website.
Of which I'm holding in my hand.
Their website.
Yeah.
And click the donate button, and then click on find out who all this money's going to.
Yeah.
And if Black Lives Matter, if they were a true stand-up group, they would be up in arms in Chicago, in New York, everywhere where black people, black children, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 7-year-olds are getting shot.
Well, see, here's the...
They'd be up in arms about that if they were a stand-up group and concerned about black lives.
Absolutely. And here's the discerning point that I will never, ever, as long as this program's on the air, I will never count out to. I will never segregate the value of lives. And when I say that, I will never say Black Lives Matter. All lives matter, whether they're Caucasian, whether they're of brown skin, yellow skin, black skin, I don't care. All lives matter to me in a feature that God, of course, is in control, and we were all made in His image. And for me to segregate and say that Black Lives Matter and I'm going to go along with their anti-American and anti-constitutional values, I'm never going to do it.
Well, all lives matter.
Bingo.
I mean, all lives. I don't care, like you said, I don't care who you are, where you are, all lives matter. But one thing that is true is patriotism does not have a skin color.
Bingo.
It does not. If you love this country, it doesn't matter who you are, what color your skin is. If you love this country, you're a patriot, and you are an American.
I got to ask you this real quick. The talk is, and I will not watch, and my wife is sitting right here in the studio with me. I have not watched any of the Major League Baseball games. I mean, I've clicked through and maybe for 10 seconds or so, and that was it. And the reason I'm done watching professional sports is because of their adherence to following along like sheep to saying they're all going to kneel during the national anthem and they're all going to link arms in favor of Black Lives Matter. I will not live or promote a society that is that singular. I believe all our lives matter. I believe that all of us living in this greatest country in the world need to try to make it better. And for the Major League Baseball players that kneel for the playing of our national anthem, there's only one being that I kneel to, and that's the good Lord above.
Exactly. Stand for the flag and kneel for the cross.
You've got it.
And these athletes that think they know better than most patriots and people that have laid their life on the line and given up their lives so they can play a sport and become very wealthy.
Absolutely.
I mean, they have no gratitude for this country at all.
Where else would a person go like, let's just say some of the NFL, NBA, LeBron James, a person that I absolutely detest, all these Major League Baseball players, where would they go and make these lucrative multi-million-dollar contracts to play a game? Tell me, I'm listening.
I have no idea what country would pay them that much money to play a game.
Well, first of all, the NFL would not be in being because there is absolutely no respect, and I'll use that word, and this is true. Over in the European countries, their football is considered soccer, right? And the football is never going to take over there to where they could be paid like many of these football players, $16, $20, $30, $40 million to play football. That's not going to happen. But yet they're absolutely spitting in the face of the American public and our Constitution and damning America like Colin Kaepernick, a worthless individual, and I have no use for these people. I
don't either. And LeBron James, he's saying oppression. He's standing up against oppression, but yet he goes kowtows to China, a communist country that will send somebody on a permanent vacation that speaks up against the country.
Yeah, and all the uniforms and equipment made for the NBA from China, made by slave labor, of which LeBron James supposedly is such a antagonist against our history and our past.
Exactly. These guys are such hypocrites.
Well, they're stupid.
And that's what I'll call them.
What?
If you can't stand up for something and stand up for it everywhere, then you're a hypocrite.
I don't understand why we can't come together. Honestly, why we can't come together and have the Democrats sit there, or the left, the liberals, and say, wow, 61 nights of burning and bombing and destruction and chaos in Portland. Why? What are they achieving? What do they hope to achieve? Why can't we come together and say this is nonsense? Let's pull together, sit down at a table, figure out what your real gripes and wants are, work it out in a professional and adult fashion. But this killing and mobbing and burning and looting, what good is it doing?
It's doing no good. But the way they say it, it's mostly a peaceful protest.
Oh, the media is liars. Don Lemon and CNN are liars. And everybody in the media is using this to fuel the flames and stoke the fire of trying to get higher ratings, and you know it as well as I do.
Exactly. They're lying to the American people, which when you lie to somebody to gain, aren't you an enemy of that person?
Well, you got it, man, and I've dealt with that a lot, I'll tell you that.
Well, one thing I'm glad and that I don't have to do is when it comes Judgment Day to be standing in their shoes. I'm glad I've got trouble enough in my own shoes. But those people will have some things to answer for.
You got that. Doug, I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody, let's take care of our senior centers. Go visit Joe and have a $5 lunch or a close senior center next to you, and you'll leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
I love that. I love that. And thank you, Doug Martin. I appreciate that. Right now, let's talk. Calls are welcome. I just bit my tongue a little bit ago, and man, I tell you, ever do that? You're talking, and all of a sudden, clunk. It hurts, and then it gets numb. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. Their locations, I'll be right with you, caller. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location. And you know from me telling you every day, they've got a great inventory of all the Bobcats. All the shapes and sizes, all the trenchers, all the scissor lifts, all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators for the lifting, the digging, the pushing, and the carrying, the grading, and the leveling. I mean, they've got all the equipment. All you need to do is get a hold of them. Great financing programs and lease programs. So check it out today at Berry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. Caller, good morning. Thank you.
Hi, Zeb.
Hi.
I have to put my 2 cents in worth. I think Governor Little has been doing a darn good job with the situation that he has found himself in. He is doing the best he can do with this pandemic, with this unemployment, I think that man has done a good job. And these people that want to call him out, they're nuts.
I just wish that when people make allegations about someone's job performance or someone in general, me included, that they had the backbone to confront the person either on the program and visit with them in a professional manner, or direct their calls and letters to him, or somehow have contact and a verbal response. I get a little sick and tired of people saying, well, he didn't do this, or she didn't do that, or they'd better do this, and then automatically want to throw the baby out with the bathwater without sitting down and having the courage to visit with the person or group firsthand.
Right. I just had to put my 2 cents in, and I think the same thing about President Trump. No other man in this United States would be able to do the job that he's done with so many people that have been trying to bury him.
You know, let me ask you this.
Absolutely. I'm sick of it all.
Let me ask you a question here, real quick. Honestly, of all the presidencies that perhaps you've had a chance to live through, see, and understand, would you agree with me that this president, from the get-go, has never had a chance to really be president?
That's the truth. They never gave him a chance. And I think that we all need to bow our heads, ask our Father in heaven to protect him and guide him and help him. And I think that's where he's getting his strength from. And I'm just different, I guess.
No, you're not.
But I just think that he and President and Governor Little are doing the very best with what they have on their hands.
Let me just tell you something, and I'm going to correct you over something you said. You said that you're going to add your 2 cents worth. No, my dear. No, my dear. It wasn't 2 cents. What you said was worth $1 million. God bless you, and thanks for your call.
Well, thank you so much, and you do a good job too, Deb.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful lady, and I loved her opinion. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Caller's exactly right. For almost 4 years, well, Trump has been under 24/7 siege I mean, it's been a war against President Trump before he was even elected. I mean, it's been unbelievable that he's been able to withstand all of this, and I don't know that without our prayers and our faith in his behalf, I'm not sure Zeb. I don't know of anybody else that would have been able to do what he's been able to accomplish. He's had, and I think the divine Almighty God has certainly been a strength to him, and despite his personal indiscretions in the past, I think he's tried to do a good job despite all of the Mitt Romneys and the Never Trumpers and the mainstream media. It's just incredible what he's had to put up with, and he's been trying to do a good job, and we need to support him, and I hope that we've got our Constitution, our faith, and our churches are under attack. Like we mentioned yesterday, that Supreme Court is just totally packed with a majority of liberals. Can't even go to church. It's unbelievable.
Whoa, Adrian, wait a minute. Let me stop you right there and ask you a question. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and I'm not trying to embarrass you, but I'm just going to state a fact. Why aren't your church leaders, and I'm not going to name any denomination, I'm not going to criticize anybody on a name basis, but why aren't your church leaders defying it? And why aren't your church leaders saying, no, we have a constitutional right, and we're going to do this, that, and the other? That's what needs to be done. That's what needs to be done in this country, is that we need to revert back to the Constitution, stick our chin out and say, no, you're not going to do this.
Well, unfortunately, I think that the attitude some have taken is that they have bought into the fact this virus is extremely deadly, which is a lie. It's been a lie from the beginning, and that's one of Hitler's aides said, if you tell a lie often enough, it becomes fact.
Well, no, answer the question, though.
Unfortunately, that's been the case.
Answer my question, though. Why aren't church leaders turning around, some are, and saying, no, we're going to be open, and we are an essential business, and I hate to use that word business in a connotation with church, but they need to stand up and say, no, leave us alone. The Constitution does not validate you coming in and shutting off our congregation.
Well, again, there's so many church leaders are afraid, and they bought the lie that this virus is going to kill everybody. The number of cases, I mean, it just goes on, and yet the number of deaths, percentage-wise, keeps going down. And so they feel like they've got to protect the people in the congregation, and so they've just basically not taken a stand. And unfortunately, that's what I see happening. And unfortunately, they're not letting. Again, it's so hard to get information out. Google, Twitter, Facebook are censoring all of the alternative media or viewpoints like hydroxychloroquine. I mean, that's a very effective drug to use to fight COVID-19, and yet all you hear is how it's just deadly poison and so forth.
I've got to run to the weather forecast. I've got to run to the weather forecast right now, Adrian, but I absolutely agree with you and the lady that Donald Trump has never, and I dare somebody to prove me wrong on this, and they can't, has never had an opportunity in his first tenure as president to be president because of all the misgivings and the under-the-table sleaze of the Democratic left. I've got to run, Adrian. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it is, and the mass media and so forth, but yeah, God bless you, and I hope everybody will show up Saturday at 10 o'clock at Twin Falls City Park for this rally. It'll be a great opportunity to get some of the facts that we're not hearing otherwise.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that's going to be, and I'll say this quickly before I go to the weather, the freedom is the cure and advancing the constitutional republic in the Magic Valley, Saturday, August 1st, Twin Falls City Park, 10 to 4. Don't miss it. Free admission. Going to be great. Great. Right now, I know something else that's great, and that's the weather forecast. Well, maybe not so great in the weather forecast, unless you like to sit there and under a palm tree with a cold drink and on the beach someplace. Come over to Murtaugh Lake. Anyway, don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are moving. Yes, as a matter of fact, they're going to be moving to a larger space on the Minidoka Memorial Hospital campus. They are right behind the Minidoka Memorial Hospital and across from the emergency room, and they're going to be doubling their patient capacity and adding new services to better serve your hearing health. Don't forget, they're going to be moving in their new space and be ready to go by August 4th. Okay? Number to call for an appointment, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Red flag warning for today, and if you don't have an air conditioner, you might want to think about it. Here's a look at your weather forecast for today. Partly sunny skies. Red flag warning is going to be in effect. Slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms off and on. With the clouds, it's going to be retaining that heat. We're expecting a high of 85. Tonight, mostly clear. With a low of 58 tomorrow, sunny skies. High of 91 with an overnight low of 58. Going to get warm for Thursday. Sunny skies. High of 97. For Friday, 101. That's look at your weather for Seth at the Ranch.
101. Boy, how'd you like to be a deodorant sales right now? Oh, that's warm. Don't forget, for the best in your hearing health, be sure and check with our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Absolutely the people that really know all about hearing. The lovely Dr. Pickup and the staff serving you. They've helped me. They can help you, too, at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Number to call, 312-0957. Okay, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, when you think about the possibility, and I don't want to give it any credence at all because it scares me, the possibility of ending up in a Joe Biden presidency with, and we're not even sure who he's going to choose as a running mate, but he has already come out and embraced, if you will, various members in the Democratic left that are positively scary. One being Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This young woman is not the brightest bulb in the fixture. She's proven that many, many times. She is naive, and, simply put, she is stupid. And she came out yesterday and said, and this shows more of the evil and dangerousness of her, she said that she definitely wants to stop all military advertising. It should absolutely be banished. And no more enlistment or recruitment for the military as far as advertisements are concerned. She wants to make a major push to stop them. I know many, many people that have been on this program, and many people that are my friends, that have absolutely benefited from a military career, albeit short or albeit lifelong. And the training and the education and the values that they learned once they left the military have been carried over into their civilian life, and wow, I have them in total respect. But for her to, again, in an evil and dangerous way, lessen the value of our military and what they can do and how they're taught, and say that she wants to see a banishment of advertising for recruitment or enlistment. This is a pathetic, underline that word please, pathetic individual that needs to be excused from politics. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
I'm one of those people. I joined when I was 17, got my basic training out of the way my junior year, between my junior and senior year. My junior year, I was honestly kind of lost in the world, didn't know exactly what I was wanting. I knew what I wanted to do, I just didn't know how to get to where I wanted to get. And the military taught me important things, the U.S. Army did. Discipline, self-worth, self-value, strength, working as a team. It's more about building a person up than most people realize. It teaches you all sorts of things you're not going to get anywhere else. And it's not about the fighting as much as it is about the camaraderie and the other tools that you will learn to carry on in your everyday life thereafter. And you're absolutely right. It makes people better people. It helps you out with some things if you have a problem. But anyway,
I can see.
I just thought I'd throw that.
No, I'm glad you did. Don't go away yet. I want to ask you something else. I can see in your voice that there's a pride that you served in the military and that you're very thankful for the lessons learned. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, that's a very fair assumption. I don't know how to explain it. You'll never have a bond with anybody else other than maybe your spouse for the rest of your life. I know I served with some guys that we don't talk every day, but I know that if I ever have a problem of any kind, I can just pick up the phone and I'd say, hey, this is going on, I really need some help, and they'd be there. This is what it is. It's a trust and a loving brotherhood that you build up with your comrades, that your buddies in arms, your brothers in arms, that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those things that builds up your sense of pride also, a pride in what you do, what you stand for, where you come from. You're all even in the eyes of God, and that's what they teach you to begin with. You're all even. You're all fair. It's how you work yourself and fashion yourself into the fine tool that you become. That's where you'll end up in life.
Riley, I appreciate your call as I always do. Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you very much.
Yep, have a good one.
God bless you. Good young man right there. Good young man. I know some folks that take a lot of pride in their work. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. And they take a lot of pride in serving you with the best of tires, the best of brake service, the best of front-end alignment, shocks and struts, the best of batteries. But above all, they take pride in serving you, helping you, and making sure that you're going to hit the road safely. I'm talking about your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations. And if you're getting ready to take a road trip before the kids go back to school, hopefully, that they've got all the tires for your car, your pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever you get in there. Have a great vacation and let them make sure you're riding on the best of tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line and Twin, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, thank you. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, a sense of purpose, a sense of worth, knowing that you're, a creature, a divine creation of God, knowing that you're loved by your parents. Across this nation, these Antifa, Black Lives Matter, these protesters, their home life was probably a disaster, or their parents have never disciplined them in any way, shape, or form. If they do, they come from a broken home or no father. And so, God forbid we, do what Riley, I think that's who it is, feel that way about, your friends and having a sense of purpose. And you say, well, what do we got to do to get people to realize their worth? Well, the adversary wants you to believe that you're worthless.
Yep.
That you can never be forgiven for your sin.
Yep.
And that you just as soon either tear hell out of everybody else's life or end your own. And it's a mess.
You know, Randy, you said a lot there in a very few short seconds, but seriously, but it was all meritable, and I agree with you. I mean, the left is easily coming out on people they don't like and destroying their lives, denigrating them, hurting their families, hurting their situation in the community, and we've got to fight back. The best way to fight these people is to stand up and tell them basically where they can take the long road to the short side of the cliff. And we've got to stand up and fight back. It's almost past time where right has got to slap the face of wrong.
Well, it's up to us to stop it. It's up to us, good people, to stop the evil.
That's right.
Because it's destroying us, and these people are even destroying themselves.
That's right. I've got to run to the news.
Or careless or distracted.
I got to run to the news right now, Randy. I'm out of time, but I appreciate your call. I really do. I got to run. Thank you, buddy. Call when I got more time. Appreciate it, buddy. We're going to continue more of the conversation. Next hour, Dan Kish and Clay Clark. You don't want to miss those two fellas. It's going to be great. I'll be back in 7. Oh, here we go. Hour number 2. Update on Jerry Nadler. This is honestly how they wrote the story regarding Nadler in a supposed car accident this morning. Quote, "The car hit something, but Nadler is not injured." Film at 11. Our program, of course, brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and in a very safe, clean environment. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's have this good word for our friends at Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia struggle.
Western Waste Services, and I know a lot of you folks are thinking ahead, going, boy, before fall, and when we have to spend more time inside, which I don't want to think about, maybe we better clean out the basement, clean out the attic, clean out that spare room, whatever, and you need a dumpster. Well, they've got all the dumpsters in various sizes, I know, because I had the big one, and filled it twice, as a matter of fact. Western Waste Services, you call them for the dumpsters, and they'll drop it off. You fill it up, they'll come and get it. Absolutely always at your disposal. 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Want to give a great big acknowledgement again this morning to some people that have been serving this area for a long, long time and helping families in a severe time of need. And I'm talking about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and the staff. They really care. And they have very flexible hours to serve you and provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. Always, and remember this, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They really care. Remember, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Another real quick note is that the Minidoka County Fair is off and running, and you know I love fairs. I think those folks over there do a wonderful first-class job. All-American flair at the Minidoka County Fair. Bring the whole family, Aunt Martha, Uncle Fred, everybody. Don't forget, tonight they're going to have that Tiny Tot Gymkhana in the rodeo arena at 6 p.m., and then also tonight, according to my sheet, the PMT concert concert, and it's free to the public. Oh, ripping good fun, along with all the exhibits, and just doggone good people at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Let's go to the phone line right now, and truly one of the great friends to this program. He's been a big help to us over the years, talking about energy or the lack of. And with the American Energy Alliance, my good friend Dan Kish. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm well. How about yourself?
Well, I'm not too bad. We've got a little feedback on the air. I'm going to ask Sean if he can correct that a little bit. I know you're on a cell phone, so we'll do the best we can. Tell us about the weather conditions back there that you've suffered through.
Well, it's been very hot back here on the East Coast. By that I mean, and of course it's not a dry heat back here. It's a swamp. So appropriately named. DC built on a swamp, and it's a swamp. And so it's been hot and humid, and good for growing things, but that's about it.
Okay, Dan. On previous programs, and I'm hearing myself 3 times in the echo. I'm sorry, the feedback down the line. In previous programs, we've talked about the electrical grid, and we've talked about electric cars, and we've talked about the left and their big push towards having the charging stations, et cetera, et cetera. I would like you, a person that really knows and understands the cost factor, can you tell me what charging stations are going to cost just to be constructed, and how much they will cost to use?
Well, Deb, that's one of the things that they can't even tell us. They just say they're going to. For example, Joe Biden says in his plan that he's going to deploy all of these things, but doesn't say how they're going to be paid for or how much they're going to cost. And this isn't your normal. I mean, we're talking at least 220 and probably 3-phase power for any kind of fast charging. Otherwise, you're going to be at the gas station for an hour and a half, just getting it topped off. So, and that's part of the problem. I mean, you can't. One of the problems with existing battery technology is that you can't charge them too fast, or they overheat. Mm-hmm. Are destroyed, and then you're out $15,000 worth of batteries. And so, I mean, we're talking billions, tens of billions of dollars theoretically to probably hundreds of billions of dollars by the time they're done, to push people towards electric cars that, as we've discussed before, are most of the parts come from China. Mm-hmm. China. So, we're finally energy independent in the United States, and the answer to energy independence that we've been striving for over 60 years is to stop using our own energy and switch off, trade in what used to be Middle Eastern dependency on oil for red Chinese windmills, solar panels, inverters, batteries, and all the 90+% of the essential minerals that go into those things.
Dan, as you were talking, I was formulating some questions in my mind, and all of a sudden you said about the batteries. And let me ask you this. Let's say that you're driving to see Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred back in Wichita Falls, and all of a sudden you get into a small town and you got a sputter and your electric car quits and your battery has burned up. What is the accessibility to replace a battery, or is there a replacement factor?
Well, in a small town right now, you wouldn't have that accessibility, and honestly, they don't have a very good system for that because, this is all pie in the sky stuff. This is all things that
that they talk about without ever understanding the way things work. I mean, this is an energy policy designed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was surprised when she flipped the switch and her garbage disposal came on. She'd never seen anything like that, apparently, or says that she didn't. I mean, the way we got to the systems that we have now, we're through engineering, science, technology, and manufacturing prowess. And it took a lot of sharp pencils and a lot of slide rules and later computers in order to be able to make things as seamless as possible for Americans. And that's why we've been able to live the kinds of lives we've had. We haven't had to worry about these things. I'm using a cell phone today because in one of the storms that we got and all this heat, it blasted my landline out, and it won't be here till tomorrow. But those things don't happen that often, Zeb, in our system because we've worked the bugs out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're talking about is, okay, now that we've worked all the bugs out, let's throw it all out and do something different, just because it makes us feel better, I guess. And if it happens to help rebuild China at the same time it makes America poorer, well, that's just too bad.
Yeah. You know, I'm sure with all of their great intellectual capability, especially being led by a 30-year-old congresswoman that doesn't know Khmer from Sikkim, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm sure that they have addressed the trucking industry across the United States as to how their trucks would be transitioned into batteries, how their trucks would have fast charging, and how all our goods and services will be on time at the store.
Well, and of course, that's one of the problems here, Zeb. They haven't thought any of this out. These are just things that sound good. I guess they poll test them and say, "How would you like an electric car that where you never have to buy gasoline?" People say, "Wow, that's great." Then later, they come along. I mean, these are like timeshares or something, you know, or selling aluminum siding. I mean, this is what this is. This is trying to buy votes from people who, frankly, don't think deeply about these things, or aren't involved, or don't know much about the way things work, in getting them to sign up for some sort of a program that promises free bubble up and rainbow stew.
Yeah. You know, Dan, one time on the program you started, and we ran out of time, talking about the disposition of these batteries. But let's talk just a little bit about the transition costs. The trucking industry, the airline industry, the farming industry, private transportation, everything would have a transition cost that would be up into, I would assume, trillions and trillions of dollars. But my number one question is, when you have a self-reliance on all these batteries, if you will, what are you going to do with these batteries when they're defunct?
Well, that's one of the problems that they've only now begun to look at, because it all of a sudden occurred to them, first of all, it's going to require an enormous amount of minerals that we currently don't mine, and China controls the world market for, because they've been out there gobbling this up, watching Americans trip over themselves with politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And so the supply lines for these things are very stretched already. And what they're talking about is, you know, multiples more of these things, because these vehicles only make up about, 1% of sales in the United States. So they're talking about massive new mining, and try that in the United States. And somehow establishing all these things, it takes establish a line.
We've got a caller with a question. You know the drill. When you hear the moo of a cow, I've got a call. Caller, quickly, you're on the air, please.
Yes, Zeb. For your caller, I was going to tell him I've seen a video of a Tesla catch fire. And unlike a regular car fire, when you get the flame put out and take the oxygen away, the fire is gone. But from what I understand with these battery-operated cars, the fire's not dead till you can disconnect the charge, so you can separate the negative and the positive and the arcing. And from what I understand, that fire that was there, the fumes on it were so toxic that it was, firefighters had to dress down in protective gearing more than normal. And I'll talk to you later.
You know, I've heard that. Dan, respond to the caller, please.
Yeah, it's been an issue in some of the places, some of these urban areas that have these electric cars. That the fire departments have had to go through exhaustive training, because that's one of the keys. Your caller, as usual, is correct. They have to disconnect the batteries, and then you're dealing with a lot of plastics and that sort of thing. It's on fire, and they have to somehow get into the system and disable it. Otherwise, as long as it's connected, it continues to flame. And of course, it's full of toxic chemicals. These things it's got cobalt in there, it's got lithium in there, it's got all kinds of base elements that are again controlled by the Chinese, and so these are problems as well. And the cost of these battery systems are enormous. And of course, then they also try to do things like shut down the way you make the electricity that charges them up. It's almost as though they just kind of want to wish this stuff to happen. Again, it's free bubble up and rainbow stew. Earl Haggard sang about it many years ago.
You know, let me ask you another question in regards to these batteries. Has there been anybody that's had the common sense that God gave a goat to come up and say, oh, wait a minute, what about agriculture? How about the tractors? How about all the machinery? How about the swathers? How about the combines? How about everything? Are they going to have to transitionalize to a battery system? And then when they're out in the field, in some instances, miles and miles and miles away from any kind of a charging station, what do?
Well, those are problems that will just get solved somehow, Zap. I mean, it used to be that we would wait for we would basically design policies around things that existed. Now, politicians like to design things around things that don't exist. It's like they read science fiction and say, okay, let's do that, without consulting any of the people that are supposed to. Now, there are plenty of people willing to consult, especially for big dollars, and tell them whatever they want to hear. But in reality, when it comes to rolling it out, you're absolutely right. I mean, how are you going to, one of the reasons we use the fuels we use today is because they're extremely dense in terms of their energy that they carry, and portable, easy to transmit, and easy to refill, that sort of thing, so you don't spend an hour or 2 hours at the gas station waiting for your car to charge. And by the way, I don't know about you, but, if you go to one of these gas stations, if there's a line at the gas station, think about if the person in front of you wasn't taking 5 minutes to fill his vehicle, but was taking an hour and a half or 2 hours. How big would the gas stations have to be?
Oh, my. I can't even imagine the devastation to our tourism, to our agricultural programs, to every day, whether they're delivering milk or whether they're delivering mail or whether they're delivering a FedEx truck or whatever the case might be. I cannot even fathom the transitional costs and the headaches of going to electric charging stations.
Well, that's the whole key to the thing, Zeb, is that it would take we've developed the gasoline system in the United States and the natural gas delivery system in the United States over 100 years. During certain times we've expedited it, like during World War II, when we understood that it was absolutely essential that we had oil and gas to fuel our furnaces to become the arsenal of democracy and the rest. Through other times when the Arabs cut us off. And what they're talking about is replicating what we've done over the past century in 10 years or less, just because they want to do it.
Yeah.
It makes it feel better because they believe Greta Thunberg when it comes to the earth melting and all of us dying. And that's a problem with this. I mean, it's almost like talking to children about very serious subjects, and unfortunately, people have elected them to office, and we're going to have people that push back against it in order to preserve our way of life. Otherwise, they're going to destroy it because they've never constructed anything in their lives.
That's right.
These are it's just nothing but words to them.
That's right.
And therein lies the problem.
You know, Dan, one quick question and a short answer on this. I'm almost out of time. And I've asked you this before, but do you on occasion get the opportunity to sit down and ask questions of these dolts like AOC, etc., and pose the questions to them so that you can basically paint them into a corner for an answer they don't know? Do you ever get that opportunity?
No, Zap. I mean, the way this works is the media is just as doltish as the media here in Washington and in New York and these urban areas is just as addicted to this science fiction future as is AOC. They don't do their job asking hard questions about how this stuff is all supposed to work in the real world. And they don't let themselves be asked questions by the public regarding these things. It's all very carefully handled. These, they're all protected and don't allow themselves to be exposed to people who might give them hard questions. That's the way they design it. And if the press were doing its job, it would ensure that those questions are asked, but they're not doing their job because they're part of the problem.
Absolutely. You know, Dan, I know you went to extra lengths and measures to get on the program this morning, and for that, I am very thankful to you. Thank you so much. Dan Kish with American Energy Alliance, a real true friend of this program. God bless you, and see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. God bless.
All right, take care. Thank you. Dan Kish, just a valuable member of our friends that are on this program, and we really appreciate him. I want to remind you about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I make no bones about it, that if it weren't for Nick Greenwell and his staff, I wouldn't be as in good a shape as I am today since I had the knee replacement and the hip replacement. They really helped me. I was at a time when, wow, things were kind of falling apart, but they, through a great exercise program and the use of that hydrotherapy pool, they got me back to where I wanted to be. Burley Physical Therapy Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Now, here's the number to call, and they can help you get back to being you. 678-1191. 678-1191 for the best. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And Nick Greenwell also with another great fitness opportunity for you at Elite Fitness at 1200 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Quick reminder, too, about our friends over at Denny's Restaurant. Oh, my goodness. If you have not eaten there, I urge you to stop by today. Call your friends and neighbors. Everybody be there at Denny's Restaurant. Delicious food. That's not at all an exaggeration. Delicious food. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, desserts, all of this and more. And the people, when you walk in the door, they're really friendly and they care. Great service. All of this at America's Diner. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And like I say, another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Don't forget, for the best, Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. In just a few moments, we're going to have another fine guest on our program by the name of Clay Clark, and we're going to get him on the phone momentarily. But before we do, if you haven't heeded my message about checking out some of the great side-by-sides and four-wheelers at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24, between Rupert and the World, you better do it. Better get her done and get out of Dodge City. Get up in the hills and enjoy the beauty of southern Idaho. Absolutely. They've got a showroom full of fun. Stop over and see them today, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 2, and they've got all the accessories you could possibly want. Plus, they've got a great service department to keep you running at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, I know the place where the insurance is sold. That's right, and they really care. And I'm talking about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 over in Rupert. Now, just as you're making the curve going into town, there they are. Whoa, hit the brakes. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this by people that are really dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you need to do is just call. Make an appointment, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, for the best of service, the best of insurance, and the best of care for you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. Let's go to the phone line right now. I've never had this man on my program before, and I'm looking forward to his comments. Good morning to Mr. Clay Clark. How are you?
I am doing very well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, it's my pleasure, and without me stumbling and mumbling about all your accolades, tell us a little bit about Clay Clark. Who are you?
I'm a father of 5 kids, and I am a man who's built many multi-million-dollar companies. And so if people want to look me up, they can go to thrivetimeshow.com. That's thrivetimeshow.com, like a thriving plant that's doing abundantly well. And I have a podcast there where people can learn more about me. And we interview people like Wolfgang Puck and John Maxwell and the co-founder of Netflix and that kind of thing, 9 days a week.
9 days a week. Well, that still gives you an opportunity to go fishing on the weekends. Anyway, Clay, let me ask you a couple of questions. I think you're going to fall right into my circle of friends on this program. I make no bones about it. I think the liberal left is absolutely, and they're right there on the precipice of taking over total control in this country and dominance over our everyday lifestyles, how we live and what we do. What are your thoughts about the coronavirus and how it's been handled by this administration versus the left and what their wants are?
Well, if we think about how this whole COVID chaos happened, the Oklahoma City Thunder had a basketball game, and that game was canceled because this COVID spread happened. People were scared. Well, why did we get scared? There was a model. There were models that were produced that predicted 2.2 million Americans would die from COVID-19, and so we couldn't let the hospitals get overwhelmed. If we can even remember that. We didn't want the hospitals to be overwhelmed, was the justification they said. And the people that made the model models. The organization that made the models is called the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute. Abdul Jameel Latif Institute. They are funded by Amazon. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, hugely inflated models. I call this thing the hug theory, the HUG theory, the hug theory. So it all started off with hugely inflated models that were designed to scare us. Then the ugly truth is that the number of cases and deaths were lied about. The numbers were faked. They added in flu deaths, deaths from car accidents, deaths from pneumonia, and they all called it this magical thing called COVID-19. And so everybody was dying with flu-like symptoms, COVID-like symptoms. They put it all in one category called COVID. So they start with a hugely inflated model. Then they go with this ugly truth of lying, using statistics to trick people to do things. And then, they had to grab your freedoms away from you because you never want to waste a good crisis if you're a Marxist. And then they did it again with the racist move. They had this hugely inflated risk of racist, race-related violence and police violence. They had hugely inflated fear and spread. They overhyped the racism. Then they have these ugly false statistics about how much black crime is committed as a result of police that are attacking them in retaliation and all this ridiculousness. And then, they say, we got to grab away your freedoms, grab away your guns, we got to shut down the police department. And now in California, this is fun. In California, the teachers union is now saying they cannot open back up for school until we defund the police. Mm-hmm. This is in California.
You know, this whole situation is such, and I've said it on my program for weeks and months at a time, is nothing more than a concentrated effort for a 7-letter word of which they hope they get during the November election, and that word is control. I think you'd agree with that.
You're 100% correct. And President Trump is doing everything he possibly can. I was invited out to the White House last week, or a week and a half ago now, to attend a deregulation event he had. And I'm just telling you, people don't understand this, but the medical community is an extension of the radicalized left. So it's weaponizing the medical field. I mean, we all believe in science. I think everyone believes in science and medicine. But 54 scientists from Dr. Fauci's National Institute of Health were just fired for being communists, working for the Chinese. The FBI now says there's 5,000, think about that number, 5,000 investigations going on right now of American people who work for our government who are working for the communists. So President Trump, I mean, if you turn on NBC, that's communist, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, all this stuff is controlled by the radical left. And now today, just today, President Trump is tweeting about the cure for COVID. There's thousands of doctors who've been treating people successfully with a $237 cure that involves a nebulizer and an FDA-approved steroid. Mm-hmm. And now Twitter deleted his tweet just an hour ago. Twitter is deleting the president's tweets. Unbelievable.
Are you saying that the bus has gone too fast and too far and it's headed over the cliff and there's no stopping it even if we hit the brakes right now, or is there hope?
I like Star Wars. You remember the first Star Wars that came out and blew our mind, the New Hope?
Yeah.
And there's that scene where it looks like Luke Skywalker, he's in the X-Wing, and he's trying to blow up the Death Star, and out of nowhere Han Solo shows up and says, let's blow this thing and go home. That's kind of where we're at in the movie right now. And I believe in a good God. I believe in a just God. I'm a Christian. I'm also somebody who is very aware of the harsh realities that we face. And I'm very excited, and I think your listeners should be excited for 3 reasons. And I have all these documented, by the way. If your listeners go to thrivetimeshow.com, thrivetimeshow.com, I have all this information cited. But one, we have an actual cure for COVID-19. And I know 1/3 of our population is an out-of-control liberal. 1/3 of our population is a very conservative person like me. And you got that third in the middle who just want to enjoy a soccer game with their kids. They just want to go see a movie peacefully. They want to go to church. Those people are now discovering that we have a cure for COVID-19. And so that's very encouraging. And we have doctors everywhere sharing the truth. That's a real thing. The second is we have a cure for the fear. More and more people are seeing the hypocrisy of Dr. Fauci throwing out the first pitch while not wearing a mask while sitting with friends. We see the hypocrisy of these politicians saying we shouldn't gather peacefully at church, but we can gather at a riot. So the hypocrisy is being exposed. And the third reason for encouragement is currently today and tomorrow, you have Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon. All these CEOs are having to testify in front of our government because they have been censoring what you can see on the social media platforms. And so all these truths are coming to light. And I just believe that God is going to heal this land, and I'm praying that. That's my belief. That's my prayer. But I also know that your listeners can't just listen to the show and do nothing. So I've tried to package it all together where if you go to thrivetimeshow.com, I don't financially benefit from any of this at all. If you go there and you click on the COVID chaos button, I put the truth everywhere so you can share it. And if you read the Bible, Matthew 5:10 states, it says, God blesses those who are persecuted for their righteousness, for they shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. And I do believe you're going to be persecuted when you share the truth. When you're right and you share the truth, you will be persecuted. Family and friends are going to say you're crazy when you share the truth. But everybody out there has a constitutional, as an American, has a civic duty to share the truth right now, or we're going to lose this great country.
Let me ask you this, and I want to revert back, and I, too, am a Christian, and I appreciate your coming forth with your statement a few moments ago. But, Clay, what about the supposed, and you've said it twice, silver bullet medicine, an inhaled steroid that has 100% effectiveness against COVID? Why isn't this being published? Why aren't people even on Fox News or anybody else that has the backbone in the media, and there are very few, to stand up and say something about this?
Well, let me explain to you how power is used to control people. What happens is evil people, we'll put Hitler in this category, or even Darth Vader, who wasn't a real person, it turns out. But the point is, they use fear to scare people into doing things. And there's a lot of people out there that have done some bad things, some things they're not proud of. And because of how Google and Facebook and all these big organizations work, the left uses this thing of like, if you come out and share the truth, we're going to punish you. Either A, we're going to physically attack you. Either B, we're going to burn down your business. C, we're going to kill you. D, we're going to kill your reputation. We're going to expose you for something bad you did in the past. And so it's going to take people like Tucker Carlson, coming out and sharing the truth. But, I mean, this is breaking news. There are doctors right now who are in D.C. sharing the truth. And I don't know if you know this, but yesterday there were 14 million Americans that watched their live streaming press conference on Facebook before Facebook deleted it. 14 million. So that is 1/7 of the people that voted for Trump in the last election were all watching a video at the same time.
Absolutely. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. I heard a beep on the line. I wanted to make sure we're still there. Let me ask you another quick question here, Clay, before I run out of time in this segment. What about this presidency? I have been an advocate of Trump. He has not had a chance, and I'm going to say this emphatically. In the 4 years that he's been president, he hasn't had a chance to be a president, and the left has superseded everything that he's tried to do. What about the election coming up in November? Do you think he'll get a fair shot, or is this election going to be tainted with all the illegalities the left can construe?
Well, I'm an optimist, but I try not to be delusional, but I just want to give you and the listeners some encouragement. I just interviewed Dr. Ben Carson yesterday on our Thrive Time Show podcast. And if you remember when Barack Obama won the presidency, he got 99% of the African-American vote. That's a big number. 99%. There was no Candace Owens. There wasn't any Jack Brewers. There were no Herschel Walkers. There were no Ben Carsons. There was very few people who were not, who were colors other than white, who were in support of the Republican candidacy. Well, now, I mean, the black unemployment rate, the Hispanic unemployment rate was so low under Trump before this COVID chaos. People do not want to live in these states that mandate masks and mandate shutdowns. And people that love freedom are starting to recognize in droves which candidate is for freedom, and that is President Trump. And we all now know that Sleepy Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was definitely funded by the Chinese, works in cahoots with the Chinese, and we know that Joe Biden's policies sound communist. So really, it's the communists versus the Americans. It's freedom versus a dystopian left hell. And I think everybody out there has to make that decision, and I believe that President Trump will win a second term in this wonderful White House.
I hope you're right. I agree with everything you said. I have a caller with a question for you. Caller, please. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about polling and whether or not you think, I don't believe them, but I also believe that I know that the polling companies are starting to be able to call people on their cell phones because landlines are so obsolete. But this has been the concern, that they said that if they know your cell phone number, they most likely know your address and, and where you live. And so these people are afraid to tell the truth about how they feel. And nobody's ever going to admit that they like Donald Trump and are going to vote for him. I don't think, because, you never know what kind of repercussions you're going to get. But when you've got these polling companies that know your cell phone number and they probably know where you live, I think people are afraid of something going to happen like that. I'll hang up and listen.
Respond to the caller, please, Clay.
I mean, I have multiple businesses, and I'll just use my clients as an example. A lot of my clients in my hair business, the haircut business called Elephant in the Room, it's like a men's barber shop meets a country club. A lot of our customers will come in, and the conversation goes like this. They'll go, "Hey, man, are you voting for Trump?" It's kind of whispered. "Hey, you voting for Trump?" That kind of thing. And it's because people do not want to be persecuted because of their righteousness. Again, it's like being a referee for third graders. You can't win. If you're a referee and you call a foul against the other team, somebody's upset. People do not want to stand up for the truth. But I'm going to say this. If you're listening right now, you owe it to your country. You owe it to your family. You owe it to your kids to stand up for the truth. And if you are a Christian, our logo, I'll remind you, is a cross. Our logo is a cross. And we have to sacrifice for the things we want to protect. Freedom is not free. We have to fight for it. People died on the beaches for it. People died in multiple wars for fighting for freedom. This is a war on American freedom, and you have to share the truth in the air everywhere. I wrote a book called Fear Unmasked that got banned from Amazon. Fear Unmasked. You could purchase a copy of Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf, but you could not buy my book, Fear Unmasked. But you know what? A bold man by the name of Elon Musk stood up for me, and he got my book unbanned. And guess what? A bold man, Elon Musk, is currently suing the hell out of Jeff Bezos. Why? Because Jeff Bezos is stealing his designs and concepts from Tesla. Some people should look that up right now. It is the same Jeff Bezos that also funded the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute that made the models that predicted 2.2 million Americans might die. We need more Elon Musks. We need more Kanye Wests. We need more of yous, more of me's. We need to stand up for victory. Be bold or you will lose.
I could not have had a better person on to help stimulate everybody this morning than you, Clay Clark. I appreciate it, and I certainly hope that you'll consent to coming back on in the future.
Brother, I'd love to have you on, however we can share the truth. And I will remind the listeners, if they want to download my book for free, I don't want to profit from it. Go to ThriveTimeShow.com, click on the COVID Chaos button, and you can download my book that was banned from Amazon called Fear Unmasked. Get that book, read that book, share that book, get the truth out there, and you have a great program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Clay. I'll be in touch with you. Appreciate it. Mr. Clay Clark, and we are going to have him back on the show in the near future. I can promise you that. Thank you very much. Straightforward. That's the way I like it, and that's the way it should be on this program, and always will be. Right now, it's time for the weather. I'm not too late this time. I'm fairly close to time. And the weather brought to you by the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. I mean, I've worked with these folks now for about 4 or 5 years, and they are typical of the name, the professionals. Tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning. They know, and they can help you. Don't forget they've got 2 offices, Burley and Rupert, the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, get ready. Take the piece of paper and start fanning yourself, because I think you're going to hear a hot forecast. Here's Gina.
Red flag warning for today, and if you don't have an air conditioner, you might want to think about it. Here's a look at your weather forecast for today. Partly sunny skies. Red flag warning is going to be in effect. Slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms off and on. With the clouds, it's going to be retaining that heat. We're expecting a high of 85. Tonight, mostly clear. With a low of 58 tomorrow, sunny skies. High of 91 with an overnight low of 58. Going to get warm for Thursday. Sunny skies. High of 97. For Friday, 101. That's look at your weather for 7th Red.
Ooh-wee. 101 on Friday. Yeah, I'll tell you what, find a shade tree. And the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they can help all kinds of folks, the family, the business, and people that are starting a business or a corporation that want to expand their business and get more employees. I'll tell you what, you better get a hold of them, the professionals, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices serving you at 1710 Overland and Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Wow, 101 degrees on Friday. I'll tell you what, my chubby little body will be looking like a Roman, kind of a sweltering candle. It's going to be hot outside. Let's see, what else have we got? While I'm waiting for some of your phone calls, I'd like to tell you about Patterson's Electronics. You know, these folks have done so much to help contribute to charities in the area. And I got to get a hold of Curtis and Lorena and find out exactly where their charitable contributions went this year so I can give a lot of credit to those charities and also to Patterson's Electronics. 421 East Main in Burley. They've got all your electronic needs, and that's seriously the truth. All is correct. Home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, the very best of everything, including television sets from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. I'm talking a great selection. Folks, don't put it off. Stop in and see these good folks today. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. I got to admit, I had to snicker just more than a little bit at the story that my wife just recently in the last few minutes pulled off of the internet regarding Jerry Nadler and his car accident. Now, I do not know if the hearing is supposed to start, they say, at about 10:45 this morning. And I don't know how much of a accident it really was, because here's the headline that came in at 9:38 this morning while I was on the air. It says as follows: a committee source confirms House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler, Democrat of New York, was in a car accident on his way to the hearing, but he is okay and en route to Capitol Hill in a cab. The car hit something, but Nadler is not injured. Now, I'm not laughing because of the accident, and I'm certainly not laughing at someone that may have been injured or not injured, but the car hit something. What did it hit? I mean, did you run over a fire hydrant? Did you run into a Volkswagen? What did you hit? The car hit something, but Nadler is not injured. Maybe I'm giggling over something that's very serious, but I don't see it as such. Let's see, what else have we got in the news here? 61 nights. 61 nights of chaos, violence, and stupidity in Portland. From a mayor that should be absolutely run out of town on a rail, tarred and feathered. Mayor Wheeler is worthless, doing nothing to stop this. And other cities are involved in the fray. It's getting larger and larger every night. All across the West, all across the East, there are other cities involved in this mayhem. And in Tempe, Arizona, a town that I've been to many, many, many times when I go to Arizona. Tempe, Arizona, Black Lives Matter decided they were going to shut down the thoroughfare, the main road in Tempe, Arizona, thus causing all kinds of distress, all kinds of problems for people trying to shop, people trying to get home to their families, people trying to go on business appointments, people trying to move through the city and go elsewhere. But they, the very obnoxious and thinking only of themselves and their cause, Black Lives Matter, decided to block traffic in Tempe, Arizona. I have said this before, and I will not back up. One could only wish that everyone had a four-wheel drive vehicle and knew how to engage the wheels. I'll let it go at that. Coming up next hour, we've got Dr. History, and I can hear his voice out in the other room as he prepares to come in and give us his half hour of history on Dr. History segment. Before we go any further, I want to remind you, freedom is the cure, and on Saturday, this Saturday, August 1st, at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the Twin Falls City Park at 400 Shoshone Street, East in Twin Falls, there is going to be a great big Freedom Forum, and they've got some really, really good people that are going to be there. Lieutenant Governor Janice McEachin and Jeanette Finicum, widow of Lavoy Finicum, Pastor Paul Thompson that's been on our program, Christy Zito, District 23 Senate candidate, and Representative Judy Boyle, District 9, and many others. Bring your lawn chairs and sit back and enjoy liberty at this Freedom is the Cure on Saturday, August 1st at the Twin Falls City Park. What have we got coming up next hour? Well, not only Dr. History, but we also have a Republican political consultant and commentator that I've seen many times on Fox News, Fox Business, etc. Harlan Hill is going to be on the program, and he is really going to tell you about all the dangers and pitfalls and pratfalls that would happen to the United States if this country would even have a skosh of a chance of electing Joe Biden and whomever his running mate will be. I don't want you to miss that. That's coming up at 10:30 this morning. Right now, we're going to get ready to send it back over to our main studios. We're going to take a crash course in what's going wrong in the country with CBS News, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, rip the keys on that piano. My goodness sakes, good morning and welcome back to hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in tires in a safe, clean environment. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I want to highlight and feature right now our friends Matt and Kelly Wiggins at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living on Alfresco Road in Heyburn, and they have got that wonderful, wonderful 12-bedroom facility for senior living. Seniors, what more can I tell you? You need to call, you need to make an appointment, and you need to go see the facility. It's excellent, beautiful. The number to call, 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. They furnish 3 meals a day, snacks, housekeeping, local transportation, and you're with your friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Oh, and don't forget to, Dr. History, you need to listen to this. It's really a great advantage for you to hear about 7K Metals, where you can help yourself build your own financial security and future through silver purchases coming right to your home. I did it. I'm doing it every month, as a matter of fact. You can create your own security bank, and it's a great saving opportunity and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. How do you find out more about 7K Metals? Call Lon Hardy. It's 312-8699 or Sharon at 430-3259. Mention I told you to call. They'll share with you all the information about 7K Metals. Well, it's Tuesday, and I got to admit that it is kind of a hassle having to have all the security and the policemen and everybody here, and then, of course, the rolling out of the red carpet, and then having to furnish hors d'oeuvres and all the delectable delights for his staff as they come in. Dr. History, boy, it's hard to have you here every week.
Well, and keeping the TV cameras away.
It's tough. Fox News,
we'll
MSNBC.
We'll just put up with it.
I mean, and then all the autograph seekers.
But I try to autograph everybody that asks me.
I know, standing on my front porch, and I don't get any money for it.
And the next autograph will be the first one.
Okay. What are we going to talk about
Well,
today?
before I start, I got an email this morning from Aaron Brogland and his family back in Detroit. They made it out west. And his daughter, his wife, Zeruhi, daughter Sose, other daughter Sona, and young son Armin from Detroit. And they made it out here, but they didn't have enough time to head over this direction, but they made it up to, I think, to the Custer battlefield. So glad they had a great trip.
This is the couple or the family that you had talked about 2 months ago.
Yeah, the Armenian family. Yeah. So they made it out here, had a great trip, they said.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, Zeb, as you think of animals that had a huge part settling the West, tell me who do you think?
There's no question.
What?
The horse.
Okay, keep going.
What do you mean keep going?
Add another one down.
Another animal?
Yeah.
Oxen.
Okay, keep going.
Cattle.
Smaller. Much smaller.
Smaller? If you say a kitty cat, I'm going to turn this program off.
Okay, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Beaver.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that. Yeah. So, biologically, the beaver is a rodent. It's the largest of its species found on the North American continent.
How do you feel about knowing that everything you've worn on your head for cowboy hats has been a rodent?
Yeah. But, most people think of beaver as an inhabitant of the remote mountain meadows, along the streams from the, around here. But actually, they are as far north as the Arctic Ocean, clear as far south to the Gulf of California. And usually he builds his lodge in a quiet pond, but if the stream is too large or too swift to be dammed, he will make his home by tunneling into the shores of the river, and those are called bank beavers.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
There's two different kinds?
I guess. Well, I think they're the same thing, but depending on where they're at, they will burrow into the bank of a river.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Now, his food is primarily the bark of the aspen, the poplar, cottonwood, and willow. He loves to dam irrigation ditches and eat sugar beets. Bet you'd never heard that before.
I did.
Eating sugar beets. But he is a home lover, a conservationist, a pacifist, but he can defend himself when need be, because you think about those long chisel-like teeth that are capable of cutting through a 4-inch aspen in 15 minutes.
You got to be kidding.
Or, get this one, Zeb, downing a tree 5 feet thick and 100 feet tall in one night. One night.
One beaver?
Yeah, one beaver.
You got to be kidding me.
You don't want to put your hand out to pet that little cute little beaver, right?
Whoa.
Now, excluding man, his only natural enemies are the grizzly bear and the wolverine, and both of whom he can get away from by just getting into the water. And when they attempt to dig into his lodge from above, as they sometimes have been known to do, he has 2 underwater escape hatches, and should the season be winter, he has taken the precaution of coating the exposed portion of his lodge with wet mud just before freezing weather came, making it like concrete. A grizzly bear or wolverine could not penetrate that almost cement-like top of the beaver pond. But anyway, when full grown, he weighs an average 40 pounds. Sometimes his weight will top 100 pounds.
Wait a minute.
100 pounds.
That is a big rodent.
In my mind, I always considered a beaver maybe about twice as big as a jackrabbit or something.
I was thinking about
big.
25 pounds maximum.
Yeah. But
100-pound beaver?
Pounds, yeah. And his lifespan might be 15 years. He will measure 3 or 4 feet long from nose to the tail tip.
You're kidding.
And 1/3 of this length is the tail.
See, now, I was thinking that most beavers were maybe about 18 to 24 inches
and that's
long.
what I had pictured, But anyway, his hind feet are webbed. His forefeet are actually a lot like human hands, and he can stay underwater for 15 minutes at a stretch. He mates for life, and except for a brief period when his mate runs him out of the house as she prepares to have a new batch of, they call them kittens.
They call those kittens?
Yeah, huh? The new ones are called kittens.
I'm learning everything about beavers I didn't know.
Yeah, me too. But since his safety depends upon both entrances to his lodge being underwater, while its interior remains high and dry, and he must stabilize the level of his pond. So he builds dams. I mean, we know that. Naturalists say it is instinct and not intelligence that causes him to do this. But the results in controlling stream flow and creating pools to benefit fish and wildlife, I mean, to me, that's intelligence.
Does the beaver congregate with other beavers to build these dams?
I'm going to mention that.
Oh.
Most dams are only 4 or 5 feet high and maybe 20 or 30 feet long, but some have been found 12 feet or more high and up to 2,000 feet long.
Wait a minute.
2,000. That's
2,000 feet?
Yeah. But like human dams, the larger ones represent the work of cooperating beaver. So it's not just one. So now you talk about intelligence. Okay, so evidently they know that numbers, they can build a larger.
Why did they build the dams in the first place?
To keep the water level at the right level.
For their home.
For their home, yeah. So when the stream flow dwindles and the pond shows...
I haven't had a chance to visit with any of them, so I didn't know.
Put that on your list.
Yeah.
So when the stream flow dwindles and the pond shows signs of running dry, the beaver have been known to dig long canals to other sources of water. Sometimes they use these canals to transport logs that are too heavy to be carried. On occasion, there are primitive lock systems in the canals.
So wait a minute, you're telling me that these beavers have the instinct and the knowledge to go look at a tree and say, okay, Fred, come help me, we're going to take this over here to this stream.
Somehow, yeah. Now, right here where we live in the Snake River country, when the white man came, trapping beaver was pretty much unknown to the Indians. Okay, if they wanted to kill the animal, they had to catch it out of the water, which was not easy because the beaver works mostly at night, or they would have to plug both exits to its lodge with the beaver inside, then chop through the tough 5-inch layer of mud and sticks from the top, and there again, that's hard work. So as a consequence, few Indians depended on beaver for fur or food before the white man came. Now, afterwards, few had the patience or the ambition to learn trapping, white man style, nor could they acquire the expensive traps with which to pursue the trade unless they stole from the whites, the Indians. So, and they sometimes did that. But a full-grown beaver is a powerful animal. It takes a strong trap to hold him.
Really?
Okay. One constant complaint expressed by the Hudson's Bay Company men was that the iron in the traps furnished them was inferior to that in the traps used by their American competitors. Okay. Now, since a beaver caught by a leg invariably would actually gnaw off the leg to free himself if given the opportunity, so it took an expert to set the trap in such a way that the animal's struggles would pull it into deep water where it would then drown. Because I mentioned they can only stay underwater about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So now this meant that
which is 14 more minutes than you and I.
Yes. This meant that the trapper must set his set along natural beaver pathways in water a few inches deep, then wade into deeper water, drive in a strong pull through the ring at the end of this 5-foot chain, and make sure that the pull would hold. Now, each trap weighed about 5 pounds, so even in early fall and late spring, the mountain streams were cold. In winter, they were even colder. And picture this, Zeb, they've got their sacks, their traps, a gun, a hatchet, and then they were staying in this icy cold water most of the working day and constantly watching out for hostile Indians.
Let me ask you, would beavers attack human beings?
I don't know that. I'm only going to think that if they were cornered, maybe.
Kind of like
I would,
a rat.
Yeah, I would think they would not. Yeah. But, one authority estimates that 4 years was the average lifespan of a trapper in the western wilderness. Peter Skeen Ogden, which I know you've heard of him.
Yeah, I have.
A Hudson's Bay Company wrote, quote, "A convict in Botany Bay is a gentleman living at ease compared to a trapper."
Oh, yeah.
So being in jail is easier than being a trapper.
That had to be a tough life.
Oh, yeah. Now, the average price paid the trapper for a prime beaver pelt, they call him a plew, P-L-E-W. And
the pelt?
Yeah, the pelt. They call it a beaver plew.
I didn't know that.
And I didn't either.
So how much did they get back there?
They got $6 by American traders, but only $2.50 by the British. Now, because of the...
See, I'm telling you, those cheapskates.
But, because of the durability of a properly cured skin, and what they would do, Zeb, is they would... cut off the coarse outer hairs so they could get to the underfur, which was in demand. That's what they used for hats and clothes, coats and things like that. Now, each time the plew or the pelt was traded or processed, its price went up, and the lowly trapper making a bare living wage. And, of course, the few at the top of the pyramid, they got the fortunes. John Jacob Astor, William Henry Ashley, and they termed the beaver pelt, they called it the gold skin because of the money they made off of it.
What did they make off of the pelts?
I don't know. By the time it finally reached the market or whatever, I don't know what they finally got out of that.
Yeah.
But the Hudson's Bay Company is said to have paid its stockholders 40% annual dividends. Now, the basic ground rule of the British-American conflict for beaver in the Snake River country, right here where we're at, was, quote, "use any means short of violence to get beaver." Okay. Now, the Americans encouraged defection of Hudson's Bay Company employees by paying higher prices for the pelts. So if you can get $6 rather than $2.50, you're going to go where you can get the most.
And $6 then, probably back in the 1840s, was like what? $60, $70 today.
At least, yeah. But the British complained that the Americans were not gentlemen.
But I'm not standing in any cold water.
Me neither. The Americans accused the British of inciting Indians to attack their trapping parties, which was quite the contrary, because the British said, they pointed out that several times they had protected American trappers and punished Indians who stole from them. Now, for the British guy, Peter Skeen Ogden, who had been born a gentleman but became the toughest, most durable field man the Hudson's Bay Company had, he took the brunt of the conflict. Now, picture this, Zeb. He's a short, stocky, powerful man. He was a veteran of Canada's Bitter Fur Company wars. Whatever Ogden's good or bad qualities were, his loyalty to the company was complete. He was loyal to the Hudson's Bay. Now, running into a party of American trappers in the Blackfoot River country, which is over southeastern Idaho, in 1825, Ogden confided to his journal, quote, "We must endeavor to annoy them as much as we possibly can. We will try to get them to steer another course. The Americans have taken nearly all the beaver. They are a selfish lot. They leave nothing for their friends. We act differently."
The language that was used in those days was so eloquent.
It was.
Really, like, we want to annoy them.
Yeah, I mean,
we hear her say something a little different.
I know, and I love reading their actual words.
Oh.
But, each year the traps, the gunpowder, the salt, sugar, alcohol, and other necessities were purchased on credit in St. Louis and transported by mule or horse to some spot of a rendezvous in the mountains. And there the free trappers that weren't working for anybody, and the Indians traded in the furs they had gathered for the supplies they needed for the coming year. And usually the free trappers ended up in debt to the traders, a debt hopefully to be paid in furs at the next rendezvous.
Now, how many beaver pelts on an average could a trapper get during a season?
I don't...
Or did get?
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is you see pictures of them with a couple of pack horses loaded with furs. So
yeah.
I I'm only going to guess 100, 200. I don't know.
I don't either.
But I'm going to talk a little bit about the rendezvous real quick.
Oh, they had fun.
They had a good time. They sold their furs. They replenished their supplies. The fur companies gave them everything they needed. A rendezvous was a lively, joyous place.
That's a polite way to say it.
And all were allowed: fur trappers, Indians, native trapper wives, children, travelers, and get this, Eb, even tourists from Europe would venture out to watch and observe what happened at these rendezvous.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
So, a few of the places that they had rendezvous in 1825, McKinnon, Wyoming, was actually the first rendezvous of white traders in the Rocky Mountains. McKinnon.
I'm not aware of where that is.
I'm not sure either.
Well, I know that we had one right here, a big one.
It says it's along the Henry's Fork.
Oh, okay. That must be up by Du Bois in that area?
Somewhere in there, yeah. But then 1826 at Cache Valley, Utah, you know where that is.
Yep.
And Bear Lake was another place. Lander, Wyoming.
Over by Preston, too, wasn't there?
Riverton, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Pierre's Hole. So there was, they had them in different places, but I think we've got time. I want to tell one more quick story.
Go ahead.
Okay, John Coulter.
I remember him.
John Coulter, with his companion, Potts, they were in canoes, and they were proceeding up the Jefferson River in search of beaver, and they reached in their own canoe when a war party of about 800 Blackfeet Indians suddenly appeared on shore. Now, picture this. They're both out in their canoes. Potts is still in his canoe, and he figured probably things were not going to go well. So he leveled his rifle and shot an Indian that was on shore.
This might not have been a good move.
Not a good thing. So anyway, Coulter came to shore. He'd expected they'd just kill him right there and then. But they pulled him aside. A council was held. One of the chiefs pointed to the prairie and motioned with his hand, saying in the Crow language, go away. Kind of waving.
What happened to Potts, though?
Oh, he's dead.
Oh, they got him.
Oh yeah, once he killed that Indian, he was pretty much totally.
He was ventilated with arrows.
He was gone. He was done.
See.
So anyway, when he'd gone a distance of about 100 yards, Coulter saw these younger Indians kind of taking off their blankets, their leggings, like they were getting ready for a race.
Uh-oh.
And he was to run a race of which the prize was to be his life and his scalp.
John Coulter.
Now, the Madison River, the Madison Fork, lay directly before him 5 miles away. All right? They took off, running. Coulter, you can imagine how fast you'd run, knowing... Now, I hate to mention this, but at this point, Coulter had been removed of any outer... clothing.
He was naked.
I wasn't going to say that. But he was running barefoot.
And more.
And more. So he was going. I mean, he was moving, and you can imagine.
In that cold temperature, you think it's wise to stand still?
No. And blood was coming from his nose. I mean, he was going, And he was outdistancing everybody except one Indian. One solitary Indian. And he was approaching. He had a spear in his hand and a blanket. And just before he caught up with Coulter, Coulter stopped, turned around, grabbed him, threw him to the ground, and dispatched him.
In other words,
killed him.
Adios.
But the spear had been broken in half at that point. But so now he's got a blanket and this half spear, and he keeps running. And this is where it gets, when I'm talking about the beaver dams. So he reached the goal of the Madison River at the end of 5 miles, and he plunged into the river, and he found a beaver house, a beaver dam, about 10 feet above the surface of the water. So he dove under the water and came up inside the beaver dam. It was dry and it was comfortable. So he just hung out in there. Well, the Indians came up and they stood on the top of the beaver dam. He thought they might break it open or set it on fire.
Did they know he was in there?
No, they didn't know. I probably thought he could be, but anyway, the beaver house is divided into stories so that you can sit in there dry without being in the water. So anyway, they finally left, and he came out. He still had the blanket, and he made his way towards a place called Manuel's Fort on the Bighorn. 300 miles that he went. He was eating roots, the bark of trees for 11 days. He reached the fort, obviously tired, hungry. His only clothing was the Indian blanket, and the only weapon was the spear that he'd brought with him. And that's the story of John Coulter.
Now, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And you know me, I'm always a little cynical.
I know.
How do we know that's verifiable fact?
Because it says right here in this book. And, this is John Coulter was a pretty amazing mountain man.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just one of his adventures. But, Coulter, now...
He was the first streaker.
Yes. And some claim that he discovered Yellowstone, but he did not. Now, he discovered a place they called Coulter's Hell, which was like a hot pool or hot pot or something, but there was another guy, and his name escapes me right now, that actually was the first white man into Yellowstone that discovered it. Yeah,
really.
So that's how the beaver ties in with John Coulter. Wow. Saved his life.
I'll tell you what, that was a great story, and thus came the song. Here he comes. Look at that. That's the streak.
Yeah. So anyway, another story of beavers and John
Coulter
you go. And the rendezvous.
Oh, Dr. History heard in all parts of the world. Foreign countries tuning in every day. Sick people in hospitals across the country listen to him. Wow.
And people in Detroit.
There you go. Thank you, Doc.
You bet.
Don't forget Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Sensational flooring event. Carpet your entire home. 3 different classifications and prices of carpet. Your standard carpet, your better carpet, and your premium carpet. And the same is true for the luxury vinyl. Boy, check it out. All the luxury vinyl for your home. 3 different prices. The standard, the better, and the premium. All of this at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I mean, please stop in and see these great folks today. They're down at 459 Overland in Burley. All your furniture needs, everything, and all your flooring during the Lee's Furniture Sensational Flooring event. Stop in and see Lee's Furniture today. We'll be back right after this break.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you very much. And right now, in the last segment of the morning, I sit back and I'm really looking forward to this interview with this gentleman, a Republican political consultant and commentator that we've seen on television, Mr. Harlan Hill. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. And before we go any further, I want to mention that you are co-author of the book called They're Not Listening, How the Elites Created the National Populist Revolution. Tell me a little bit about the book before we get into some real heavy stuff this morning. Are you there?
Hi, yes, I have you.
All right, good. I thought for a minute that we'd lost the connection. Harlan, tell me a little bit about your book that's out called They're Not Listening, How the Elites Created the National Populist Revolution. What's the book about? Give us a little overview.
Yeah, so, we have been traveling the country, my co-author Ryan Gradusky and I, and it is amazing how common communities across this country reflect each other. What we found is that globalism has universally failed American communities as jobs have been exported for basically slave labor in places like China, where illegal and legal immigration have displaced workers and driven down their wages, where the opioid crisis has gutted communities and families across this country, and the elites in New York and in Washington, D.C. have basically told Americans, as they were clamoring for a solution to their problems for decades, for them to get over it. In the case of globalization and the loss of their jobs to places with much cheaper labor in substandard conditions, they were told your jobs are never coming back. They told third-generation steel workers, your communities are dead. Go learn how to code. Move to a city. Live in a studio apartment. And if you're 50, 60 years old, you're approaching retirement, you got kids in college, changing your career, changing your profession so profoundly at that point in your life is nearly impossible. They've told people that feel like illegal immigrants get preferential treatment to them, that they're racist, because they believe that American government should put the interests of American workers before those from other countries. And the last tenet here that's the commonality is that in the national populist movement, we believe that we should be nation building at home, that we should be building American infrastructure, that we should be building American roads, American schools, and not invading countries around the world and having to inherit their problems. And that's what the Trump revolution was about in 2016. It was about rejecting the status quo that had been rotting America from within for decades. And that's why President Trump came to power, and that's what the book's about.
Absolutely. Harlan, I'm going to say something to you, and if you feel the urge to correct me and kind of admonish me, go ahead. I am very proudly, because I can't change the color of my skin, I'm a Caucasian, and I am extremely proud of my United States of America. I'm a white nationalist. Where did the terminology white nationalist pick up such an evil connotation with the liberal left in this country?
Well, look, I'm a national populist. I believe in putting the interests of the American people first. I don't believe in advancing any one group over another. I just don't. I mean, we're Americans.
Amen.
I'm interested in advancing every American. Okay? I don't like what's happened in this country with these protests and these riots, the violence that we've seen in the streets, which seem intent on advancing one group over another. That's just not what I personally subscribe to. I think that it's dangerous that the Democrats are promoting this vision of racialism. That they think that I think that they're advocating for, African American superiority, and that's dangerous. It's not helpful. The president did so much for people of all backgrounds. Everyone benefited from the Trump revolution. The stats we all know: record low unemployment for everyone, women, African Americans, Asians, whites. Everyone did better, and a rising tide lifts all boats. And I just want to get back to that vision, and I think that inherently that's what the president's seeking to do in the election.
Absolutely. I will say this, that answer you just gave was the way I wanted to hear it. I'm a Christian, and I believe that God created all of mankind in his image. I don't care about skin color. I only care about the personalities and the people and the way they treat other people. And that's what we've got to get back to in this country. And I absolutely will not stand for the Marxist/communist group, Black Lives Matter, trying to take over and control with a very Marxist theory of taking over our Constitution and our country. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, they've made no bones about it, right? They want to destabilize the United States from within, and they are succeeding. They have done a better job than any of our adversaries since 1812 have done. They have cleared out the cities. They're destroying major American cities. They are destroying the family unit. They are pushing our government to the brink of collapse, where we're not able to get anything done. Their vision, their utopia, is more government control, a further collapse, total collapse of the family unit. It's a bleak future. No policing on the street. It's anarchy. It's a combination of some big government programs that hand out endless money. Universal basic income, universal health care. And lawless streets. I mean, it makes no sense to me, and it's truly unprecedented in modern history. I mean, even the Soviets believed in law and order. The radicals that we're dealing with here in this country are far more extreme than even they were, and that should terrify all of us. As Stalin murdered tens of millions of his own people. In every case that communism has come to power, it has led to the abdication of human rights. It has led to the destruction of life and property. This is an extremely dangerous precedent. And, if we're at a fork in the road.
Yes.
Okay? This is serious. If we abdicate now, if we don't come up with a coherent vision for what the future of this country is, then they will win. They will win. Because we may not like their ideas, but at least they've articulated a vision. And I haven't heard that from our side in this year. What is the message of the Trump campaign?
Amen.
And I'm saying this as somebody. I was on the advisory board for the campaign before I had to leave for work. I want President Trump to win more than anyone. But I'm concerned that we haven't properly articulated what the value proposition is to voters. Why support President Trump? It's not merely enough to say, Joe Biden is incompetent. It's not merely enough to argue over whether Joe Biden has dementia or Alzheimer's. That's not enough. We need to articulate our vision for the future of America.
Bringing up Biden, and I've got to say this, I'm not trying to act in a rundown fashion against Joe Biden or anyone, but you can see that his mental faculties have diminished, his physical stature has diminished, he's just the shell of the man that used to be. My question to you is, this is apparent to most all the voters in this country, and why would the Democratic Party even want to promote and further this man as a presidential nominee, knowing that he might not even be able to take the oath of office in a articulate fashion?
Well, I think it's rather quaint of you to think that the Democrats actually care at all. They don't. They are cold and calculated, and I can say that as a former Democrat that did a lot of work in the Democratic Party establishment and in unions. I am a recovering Democrat. And I saw it from within. They are corrupt to their core. They are interested only in acquiring power. That's what this comes down to. So they don't care. I mean, he could be a puppet. Okay, they could elect a frog. Okay, they don't care if they're coherent, if they have the capability to be a true leader. They don't care about any of that. It is about acquiring power, and the handlers, the unelected bureaucrats that stand behind Biden will be the ones making all of the decisions. And increasingly, those are people that are as radicalized as you can imagine. They're people that, will not be accountable to the American voter. They were never elected by any voter in this country, and they will be making the shot. They will be calling the shots. They will be the de facto president of the United States because he is fundamentally incapable of leading. The man can't even string together a series of words to form a sentence. Okay, but they don't care because this is about power. It's not about what's right for the country. And I'll go to my grave believing that. Absolutely.
Harlan, what about the background personalities that are coming increasingly to the forefront, like Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Presley, Ilhan Omar, and others? These people scare me because they have no business being in political power, let alone possibly taking over as cabinet members of a possible Democratic leadership. What about those people? They are, to me, more scary than Joe Biden.
Well, yeah, and they're going to be promoted within the party. I mean, there are a couple different reasons for that. One, they're extremely popular within the Democratic Party. Two, Nancy Pelosi wants them out of her caucus because they cause nothing but problems for her. And three, they allow Democrats to point to these figures and say, "Oh, look how diverse we are! Look how progressive we are." That will be the Joe Biden administration should he win. It's going to be filled out by radicals that are woefully incompetent. They are people that I wouldn't trust to manage a Chuck E. Cheese. Okay, I mean, they will be They will be the Secretary of Energy. They will be the Secretary of Transportation. They will be the Secretary of Defense. Okay, people that couldn't make change at a cash register. Okay? I mean, just go watch AOC in one of her Periscope videos online. Okay, this is not hyperbole. We're not dealing with rocket scientists here. In fact, I'd like to see her college diploma.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, and you know this is true, that the left has been very well orchestrated, very well organized, and very well funded to create virus and violence and repeat the two words I just mentioned over and over, and we're going to see this lead up to the election. What are your thoughts, honestly, about a fair, legal election, and who do you think will win?
Well, I was discouraged in maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't care about national polls. Okay, at the end of the day, we have an electoral college, and that determines the outcome of our presidential election. Period. Okay, so the national polls, they are not worth the paper that they're printed on. But the battleground state polls are important. Okay, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, etc. I was discouraged to see that we were losing in every battleground state at one point 4 weeks ago. Then I talked to a really reputable pollster here in town. He's known to be apolitical. He's really intelligent. He has a demonstrated track record of picking elections right. And he did a test because he wanted to see, he wanted to test a theory. And that theory was that voters are hesitant to acknowledge that they support President Trump, especially now. So what he did was he had a group of 2,000 voters, one list of 2,000 voters, and they called them twice. Once from a call center with live people asking questions as part of this poll. The second time, they called them a few days later as part of a robo call, where you were not talking to a live person, you were talking to a machine. And the answers were dramatically different. The president went from losing in these battleground states to winning in a majority of them. So what that indicates to me is that it's even more exaggerated than in 2016, that voters are hesitant to acknowledge publicly that they support President Trump because they fear retribution for their politics.
Right.
And it is my hope that silent majority shows out in November, that they cast their votes early, because early voting is going to be really important this year with all the coronavirus stuff. Because who knows? They may suspend in-person voting because it's a health risk. All right? So everybody needs to get out and vote early, and make sure that their votes are heard, because they will pull any shenanigans they can possibly pull, especially in battleground swing states that are controlled by Democrats. So we cannot afford that opportunity. We need to win, not just by a little. We need a resounding victory in these states, or they'll pull out all stops, legal and otherwise, to try to delegitimize the outcome of this election.
Amen. Yes, you're right. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been visiting with Harlan Hill, Republican political consultant and co-author of the book They're Not Listening, How the Elites Created National Populist Revolution. Harlan, you got to promise to come back in the future. You are excellent, sir, and I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
God bless. Harlan Hill, and telling it like it is about this upcoming election and what's happened behind the scenes with the Democrats, the demented Democrats, and, of course, Joe Biden. I'm going to have him back. You can bet on that. Whoa, we better get a weather forecast on here, and I'm going to get a chance to talk about my old buddy, Don Scarrow, and the crew at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Absolutely. The most delicious of meats, and if you've got an occasion of having the family get together or a company picnic or a reunion or whatever, my goodness sakes, be sure and call them at 324-7657. Or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, and check out all the meats, whether it's the bratwurst or the breakfast sausages or all the different flavored of bacon, tri-tips, all the delicious marinated pork ribs, hams. Oh, the list goes on and on. Absolutely fantastic meats from Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Red flag warning for today, and if you don't have an air conditioner, you might want to think about it. Here's a look at your weather forecast for today. Partly sunny skies. Red flag warning is going to be in effect. Slight chance of rain showers and thunderstorms off and on. With the clouds, it's going to be retaining that heat. We're expecting a high of 85. Tonight, mostly clear. With a low of 58 tomorrow, sunny skies. High of 91 with an overnight low of 58. Going to get warm for Thursday. Sunny skies. High of 97. For Friday, 101.
Woo.
That's a look at your weather for 7 at the Ranch.
Thank you. Hot summertime forecast. Weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. At Scarrows Meats, it's really the truth. They're changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Zeb. Well, last week, talking about these polls and your last guest and what he said, people are fear of retribution because, like I said earlier with the other guest, when they have your cell phone, then they know a lot about you.
Yep.
And they're starting to do these polls with your cell phone, and people are concerned. And
yeah, but wait a minute, Randy. If I called you, and would you hesitate in telling me who you're going to vote for? Would you really fear retribution, or would you stand up as a red, white, and blue citizen and say to the caller, listen, you bothered me during my work time, and I'm going to give you an honest, straight answer. I want Donald Trump to be reelected. There, put that in your pipe and smoke it, and don't call me again.
See, if you asked me that, I'd honestly tell you, but others, it's weird because just like, for instance, Tucker Carlson lives in California. They found his house. They're going to his house. They're hoping to scare the hell out of him. In the past, he's had to move from where he lived before, and now they've found his house again. That kind of thing scares people, and some people they're afraid of things that they don't know.
Is that the kind of society that we're going to allow to happen? Is that the kind of way we're going to live, that Randy and Zeb and everybody else has to hide in fear over their political affiliation and who they want to be president for fear that the left's going to come in and hurt them, hurt their family, hurt their property? That's not the America I was born and raised in. And by God, we better stand up and slap somebody in the nose.
I'm all for it, brother. I'm all for it. I'm ready to go to fighting right now. It's just that, like, for instance, when I go to catch him and my son's playing his band or Stanley or whatever, I don't walk around. I look somewhat redneck anyway, so I don't walk around with the MAGA hat on. I'm not afraid of him, but I just don't have time to get into the battle because I came up here to, vacation.
Let me tell you a scenario that I'd like to see.
From evil, though.
Let me tell you a scenario I'd like to see. I'd like to test this out. I would like to call some of my friends in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association that are great big bulldoggers, guys that are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", weigh 285 or whatever, and I would like to see the response walking into Haley, Catch 'em Anywhere with MAGA hats on their heads and have some little wimpy dude tell them to take it off. I would love to see that.
Well, they won't do it, but you're right. I don't know, but I know that there's no question that people are afraid of retribution, so they're very cautious about what they say. And so I think there's millions upon millions of people that are going to vote for Trump, and they'll never admit it.
I think you're right.
Into their own wives.
I agree with you. I got to get a commercial on here, but I really appreciated your conversation this morning. Thanks, Randy. God bless you, man. Thanks. Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, boy, every time I talk about them, there's so much to talk about. And I want to start off by saying all the service to the rural areas as far as, your farms, dairies, ranches, etc. They've got service trucks that go all over serving you out in the country. I'll tell you. And don't forget, too, that at every one of the 7 locations, they've got the best in tires, the best in brake brake service, the best in shocks and struts, front end alignments, batteries, all of this and more. But again, I always come back to that one word, service. They really take care of their people because they appreciate your business. Stop in and see James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes in Twin Falls, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. The best serving you, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Now, what have we got cooking for tomorrow? We've got Dr. Gerard Lamero is going to be back on the program, along with Dave Bego and others. Caller, I've got 30 seconds. Real fast. Go. You're on the air.
I don't need much time, Zeb. I was just going to let you know that I lie to the pollsters all the time. When they call with their liberal agendas, I agree with them. I take the opposite tack of what I really believe so I can help skew the polls.
There you go. You're my kind of guy on that attitude. I like that. Thank you. God bless you. Keep messing them up. And another person we've got on tomorrow is another attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation telling us all about the evil left and what they're trying to promote and try to create in our country. I've got to run. We're out of time. The way things were, the way things ought to be. And the four words that mean the most to us, in God we trust. Stand up and be proud of who you are and what you represent. Don't weaken. Spit in the eye of the left and walk away. There you go. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.